Good morning, boys and girls. It's Dr. Rucker back with another lesson. We are on lesson 8 of Unit 1, Freedom. Our lesson title is No Search or Seizure Without a Search Warrant. We're going to be diving into Amendment 4. So we've gone through Amendment 1 through 3, and today we're going to discuss Amendment 4. Our essential question for today, what you should be able to answer by the end of this class period is, can someone search and seize things from my home without permission? So you should be able to answer this question. Can someone search and seize things from my home without permission? Now, I'm sure there's a word there that you may not have seen before, or you may have, which is seize. Seize means to take things, okay? If I seize it, I'm taking it from you, okay? So, give me a second. Today we will be working from ducksters.com, the same website that we've worked from for the past 2 lessons. And the website that we're working on is www.ducksters.com/history/4/4th_amendment.php. And that website is already on your lessons, okay? So, looking at that website, U.S. Government 4th Amendment, okay? The 4th Amendment was part of the Bill of Rights that was added to the Constitution on December 15th, 1791. It protects people from unlawful searches and seizures. So, 4th Amendment protects people from unlawful searches and seizures. So, for instance, if you get pulled over, or your parents get pulled over, and an officer say, I'm going to search your vehicle, it's unlawful because they don't have the right to do that, okay? Unless there's a lawful reason for them or they have a warrant, then they can search, okay? This means that police can't search you or your house without a warrant or probable cause, okay? From the Constitution, here is the text of the 4th Amendment from the Constitution. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So, for instance, I'm just a regular old teacher here at Park Lane Elementary. I'm in my classroom. I'm doing my job. There's no reason for an officer to come in here. They cannot enter into my classroom. Let's say this is my house. They cannot enter into my house or my classroom without a probable reason, meaning that they have to have some type of reason to be able to come in here. Someone told them about something. They had some type of, reasoning. Simple as that. But if they come in here and they don't find anything, that is unlawful. So they have to make sure that they cover their tracks. And as of lately, some officers haven't been doing that. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying some. Okay? So they have to make sure that they cover themselves and they have probable cause to enter into homes or search people or search vehicles. Okay? So, reasons for the 4th Amendment. Why do we have the 4th Amendment? Why is that one even in place? Okay? The 4th Amendment came about because of the actions of British tax collectors before the Revolutionary War. They would use general warrants to enter and search any house they wanted without needing evidence of wrongdoing. The Founding Fathers wanted to protect people from this sort of invasion of privacy from the government. Now, we know last week we talked about privacy and how important it is. So, what is searches and seizures? A search under the 4th Amendment is when a public employee, like a police officer, looks at something that is considered private. It typically takes 2 things in order for something to be considered private. The first thing is the citizen thought it was private and it would not be able to be viewed by the public. For example, something inside a house would be private. Something on the driveway could be viewed by anyone. The second reason, these expectations of privacy are realistic. It wouldn't be realistic to expect something on your driveway to be private because anyone riding past can see it. But it's inside your home behind closed doors that is considered private. When someone is seized, they are not free to leave, okay? Like being arrested and placed in jail. When something is seized, it cannot be taken back, like the police taking your wallet and not giving it back. Judge's warrant. In order to conduct a legal search or seizure, the police must have a warrant written by a judge. To get this warrant, they must present evidence to the judge that some criminal activity has taken place. This assures that the police can't enter a person's home or arrest a person without evidence that has been reviewed by a judge. Let's talk about probable cause. The Fourth Amendment also states that there must be probable cause. Boys and girls, this means that there is enough evidence to show that a crime has likely been committed. The police must have this evidence before, keyword before, any arrest or search. Any evidence found during the search does not count as probable cause. How does this work in public schools? So how does it relate to you all? The requirements for search and seizure are slightly different in public schools. The Supreme Court has said that school officials and police officers can search a student if they have reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred. This is less of a requirement than probable cause. So some searches are allowed, boys and girls. There are certain places and situations where people are searched or stopped without a warrant. Consider the airport, where everyone who flies is searched. When you agree to fly, you give up some of your Fourth Amendment rights. Another example is a roadblock that tests for drunk drivers. When you drive on public roads, you give up some of your Fourth Amendment rights. These searches are generally accepted by the citizens for their own safety and protection. So, some interesting facts about the Fourth Amendment. Evidence that is obtained by violating the Fourth Amendment is usually not admissible in court. Objects that are in plain view, meaning a police officer can see them, are subject to search and seizure. If someone agrees to being searched, then no warrant is needed. School lockers can be searched without a warrant in many states. So, at the bottom of that website of Ducksters.com, there are some activities. I want you to take that quiz and see how well you did how well you would do based off of the information that was just read to you. Okay? So, after you complete that, I want you to take a look at your packet. All right? So, your packet looks like this. This is the first page of your packet. So, Freedom Amendment 4, searches, seizures, and warrants. Your directions are: discuss scenario 1, Terry stop. This case is a simplified situation that occurred in Terry versus Ohio in 1968, and now similar occurrences are known as the Terry stop. Go over your assigned scenario and decide yes or no whether the search seizure should take place based on what you have learned. So, scenario number 1, Mr. Terry stopped. Mr. Terry was walking down the street back and forth over and over in front of a store. A police officer watched Mr. Terry and suspected that he was casing the store for a robbery. The officer wanted to do some investigating and to ask Mr. Terry some questions. Freeze. Do you think the officer could ask Mr. Terry questions now? Would Mr. Terry have to answer? Could the police search Mr. Terry? Again, he's walking back and forth in front of a store, not saying anything, not doing anything. Do you think the officer could ask Mr. Terry questions now? Would Mr. Terry have to answer? Or could the police search Mr. Terry? The officer approached Mr. Terry to investigate, but was afraid that Mr. Terry might have a gun. Again, Mr. Terry just simply walking back and forth in front of a store. Not saying anything, not doing anything. Just walking back and forth. The officer want to ask him questions. Should Mr. Terry have to answer? Can they search him? Could the officer search Mr. Terry? But the officer approached Mr. Terry to investigate, but he is afraid that Mr. Terry might have a gun? Knowing that the police were worried Mr. Terry might have a gun, do you think they could search him? Should they search him? The officer patted Mr. Terry down. When he did, he found a gun. Mr. Terry later complained to the court that the police had no right to search him just because he looked suspicious. But the court agreed with the police and said that searching Mr. Terry in those circumstances was okay. Now listen, going back to the Fourth Amendment, remember you have to have probable cause to even search them, right? Regardless of what you find after you search them, whether or not, what was the probable cause of them searching Mr. Terry? That's what I want to know. I want you to discuss with your parents, your siblings, whoever is at home with you. Why do you think the police is allowed to do this? The Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution give us the right not to be searched in unreasonable ways. To do a Terry stop, a police officer must first have reasonable suspicion that criminal activity has occurred, is occurring, or is about to occur, and this person is involved in that activity. Okay? Let's look at scenario number 2. The police see James standing at a bus stop on a downtown street in an area where there is bad crime. The officers ask James if they can look in his bag, and he says yes. They open the bag and find stolen credit cards. Yes, there was a legal search because James gave the officers consent, meaning that he agreed to them searching. What if James says no? Are the cops allowed to open his bag and search it? Okay, let's talk about scenario number 3. A student tells the principal that Julia, another student, is selling medicines on the school grounds. The principal opens Julia's locker with a master key, finds different medicines, and calls the cops. Remember, we talked about there were different rules when it came to schools, okay? Was the principal allowed to search Julia's locker? Did he have probable cause, or did she have probable cause? Scenario number 4. The police send Sarah's friend into her house to search for stolen goods. He finds stolen jewelry in her desk drawer, which he gives to the police. Is this an illegal search? So, I want you to discuss this with your parents or your siblings based off of the information that you've learned on Ducksters.com. Scenario number 5. Chris is stopped for going 52 in a 45 miles per hour zone with no other reason. The police see a knife on the back seat through an open window. Is this a legal search? Remember, the window is open and the police can just see in. Is this a legal search? What if the gun, it says gun here. Let's say they see a gun on the back seat, not a knife. If they see a gun on the back seat, is this a legal search when they can just simply see it? What if the gun was in the trunk? Is this a legal search? Okay. Scenario number 6, Ray is seen shoplifting at the mall. Police arrest him outside the mall. They then drive him to his home, search his house, and find a room full of stolen video games. Is this an illegal search? The search of the house without a warrant. What if Ray was on probation? Would this be a legal search? Scenario number 7, and for all of these questions, I want you guys to explain why. You know, when we answer those, we use the Ray strategy where we restate the question, answer it, cite our evidence, and explain, okay? Scenario number 7, and this is our last scenario. Ray is seen walking back and forth in front of a liquor store. The police stop him and frisk him looking for weapons. Is this a legal search? After finding a weapon in his pocket, they search his backpack and find another gun. Is this a legal search? After finding the gun in his pocket, they had probable cause to search his backpack. Okay? That completes our lesson for lesson 8. I hope you guys were able to gain some knowledge on the Fourth Amendment. And I want you guys to understand, going back to our essential question, okay? No searches or seizures without a search warrant, without guidelines, okay? So, can someone search and seize things from my home without permission? Only if they have probable cause. They cannot go into your home without a warrant. They cannot take anything from your home without having probable cause. I hope you guys learned something new, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.